us to this moment, in this time, in this season, for we know that you do great things and we're in alignment with you. Father, we thank you because your word said to me today, God, that today is not just about learning about scholarships, but you're breaking generational curses, you're breaking generational cycles, you're changing our mentality to align with a mentality of an inheritance, a mentality, God, that the cattle on 1,000 hills belong to us. And so, Father, I thank you today for everyone who is here present, those who are at home, those who are streaming, God, that they will connect with that mentality today, God, that you are the God that says, if you ask not, we receive not. Father, so today we come asking, God, for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Make me a willing vessel. Today has nothing to do with me, but all about you. I am your willing servant. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I want to thank Pastor Emmanuel and certainly our Heavenly Father for an opportunity to present to you today. My name is Kinshura. Everyone knows me. For those who are joining online, I'm Kinshura Ingram Cumry. So today we're going to just jump right in because we want to honor time. Our presentation today is really talking about awards, scholarships, grants, everything that has to do really from an academic lens, but the principles can be applied to anything. I am a very principle-based person. I'm by no means an expert in this. I'm just somebody that God has given mercy and grace to experience it. And because I have testimonies about it, I feel the need to share my blessings in that regard. So the purpose today, I always start off with a purpose. The wrong expectations lead to disappointments. And so if you don't understand the purpose of being here today, your expectations might not align, and then you might get disappointed at the end. So I'm going to lower them a little bit. The expectation really is for us to come here to seek wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I am by no means setting you up for, at the end of this, every scholarship you apply for, you will get. That's the wrong expectation. But if you have the expectation that I know what I need to do and how to do it to the best of my abilities, you've now increased the probability of getting scholarships, awards, and grants. So now that our expectations are set up, we need to understand the difference and the significance and the application process. So first things first, outline, we're going to talk about getting your head in the game. A scholarship and awards is not easy business. Your head have to be in the game. What does that mean? Why do we apply for these? What is the difference between a scholarship, award, bursary, grant? Where do you look for them? Who should apply? So there we're really talking about eligibility. Then we want to talk about when to apply for them. Timing is everything, spiritually and physically. And then we want to talk about how do I actually get my applications done. Feel free, if you have questions along the way, raise your hand. I think Gift is walking around with a mic. There you go. All right, getting your head in the game. First things first, never discount yourself. One of the lessons that I've learned early in my academic career is people often see scholarships and they say, I don't know if this applies to me, or this takes a lot of work, or nobody will give me a reference. You've already discounted yourself before you even did the application. So now what's the point of applying? Because as far as you're concerned, you don't qualify. And if you don't think you qualify, nobody else will think you qualify. Never discount yourself. Never discount yourself because the money seems too little. If the scholarship is for 75 cents, that's 75 cents you didn't have to work for. Don't discount yourself. Don't discount yourself because it talks about it's looking for this, it needs this, so that's the criteria, versus the preference, need versus want. The application says the criteria is a Black woman. The preference is a Black woman living in China. It doesn't matter if you don't live in China. You meet the criteria. And so if nobody else applies and you're the only one, or nobody from China applies who's Black, you automatically get the scholarship. Child, you won. Don't discount yourself. Just apply. Second thing is apply for almost everything. Oh, sorry, I thought you guys can see this. Oh, maybe you can. Okay. Apply for almost everything. Why do I say almost everything? You have to make a really clear judgment of, is this worth your time? If this application is worth $250, it's 20 pages, it's due in 10 days, you need 4 references and a 5,000-word essay, that might not be worth your time, given what's on your plate. But a scholarship that's worth $12,000 will take you 10 minutes to apply, no references needed, that's worth your time, right? So wisdom, using our wisdom and saying, there are 4 applications out here, which one of these are most valuable to me? Not money-wise, time. Time equals money. Because if you have to spend 20 days on one application that's worth $250, when I calculate my worth, my hourly rate, that ain't cutting it. I need to make at least $100 an hour on application. I'll even go for $1,000, depending on what it's worth, right? Think about that. Also think about your faith. A lot of people have wrong expectations with scholarships. They will fill out 3 scholarship applications for the year, and they didn't get any. All of a sudden, they think, oh, I'm not good enough. Nobody picked me. I always fill in these applications. They don't work. In my academic career, which if my husband, he probably left, he'll tell you it's way too long. I spent about 9 years in higher education. I probably filled out 550 scholarships application. Out of that, I probably got 40. So my expectation can't be that if I fill out 450 applications, I'm going to get 450 awards. But my faith is that when I submit it, that's mine. But I set my expectations in place that I don't know which one is mine, but one of these is going to be mine. Right? So you got to align your faith with expectations. Again, the wrong expectation leads to disappointment. Just because you don't get it, that has nothing to do with you. It just wasn't yours to get. The adjudication process. A lot of people go to school, go to class, go home. That's it. They are not involved in any part of the schooling process. My master's and my PhD, I sat on the awards. Thank you for doing that. The award and adjudication committees. Why did I do that? Not because I didn't have nothing to do. I was in a graduate degree. But I sat in that because I wanted to think like they thought. I needed to know when I sit in those committees, what are they talking about? What are they looking for? So that now when I fill out my applications, I know exactly what they want me to write. That's not cheating. That's called wisdom. Now, I have the wisdom of what you're looking for, but I also get to put on my CV, I am a member of the Scholarship and Awards Committee. So now I'm an engaged student who's active, but I also have the wisdom. I don't have time to be in the social committee. I get enough people to socialize with out of school. I want to be on the committees that will get me where I need to go. Choose your committees wisely. This is a part-time job. Don't think, oh, I'm just going to sit around and somebody will send me an email and they'll come to me. You have to make the time out. Block it in your schedule to look for scholarships. If you don't set the time out to look for them, you will lose the opportunity to know what's available and miss the deadlines. So you got to look for it. And then what's setting you apart? Everybody who applies for an academic merit scholarship is smart, quote unquote smart. They have the GPA. What's going to set you apart is thinking, all right, everybody has a 3.9 and above, but this student has a 3.9. They're part of the Awards and Scholarship Committee. They're a member of the Black Graduate Students Association. They're active in church. They go above and beyond. So when I adjudicate scholarships, I look and I said, okay, this person's smart, but what else do they do? They're not involved in their community. They don't know anything outside of their book. That's not a person I want to invest in. Remember, as a donor is the person who's giving the scholarship. That person is looking to invest in you. And you have to know that you are worth the investment, and they have to know you're worth the investment. So it's a two-way street. So that's getting your head in the game. Those are the basics. If you get those down pat, The rest is just paperwork. So why do we apply for it? What do you have to lose? Only two answers people can give you, a yes or a no. Then you move on. So if you never apply, you never give yourself an opportunity for a yes. The application never went in, so nobody has an opportunity to tell you yes, because there's nothing there for them to look at. When do you apply? So when, not if you're awarded, so that's a mentality process, right? Thinking about when I get an award, not if I get one. When you get one, it is your money with no repayment expected, except for if it's a loan. I never applied for a loan. I don't want them. Don't ask me about them. Don't send me an email about. I ain't paying you interest, and I gotta pay you back. I'm looking for free money. So no, loans are out of the option for me. So that's where you set your mentality. Gabby asked me a question earlier. Why do we all just apply for student loans? Everything in life has a spiritual and a physical element. But remember, in the physical realm, there's authority. So we've been socialized to think about who applies for loans. Generally, student loans are given to minority groups, persons who come from impoverished areas or backgrounds. And so what does a loan do? Gives you the illusion that you have an opportunity, but keeps you in the cycle of poverty and oppression. So it's a systemic structure. They don't advertise grants, scholarships, and awards. Why? Because it takes away from the systemic ability to keep you in a cycle of debt. So the first mentality is, I ain't looking for nothing that can get me into debt. And then that automatically eliminates applying for it, because that's not what you're looking for. Bursaries and awards and scholarships, they support your academic journey. They do not have to be applied to your school fee. If your school fee is $5,000 and the award is $12,000, you can choose to take out $12,000 and not put it towards your school fee. But let's operate in wisdom here. If you don't have something else out there to cover your school fee, you need to be wise. Make sure your school fee is covered, and then put the rest in savings or reinvest into yourself, okay? And then, this was my motto in school: why am I spending my savings when there's opportunity out there for free money? I didn't spend my savings, and I meant it. When I moved to Canada 6 years ago, and I came here with a set amount of money that I had saved because I knew I was going to graduate school. So this is mentality. Where you are now, the decisions you make today will tell you, where you are today is really a reflection of the decision you made 5 years ago. That's just the truth. So I knew 10 years ago I was coming to graduate school by hook or crook. So every paycheck, I had an account that was just for that. Didn't know what school, didn't know where. I just know that's where I needed to go. So if that's where I needed to go, I created a savings account towards that. So when I showed up here, God said, you've stored it well. You've told me what you wanted, and I saw you work towards that. So then I was able to go to the throne with boldness. I'm like, okay, Jesus, I'm not spending my savings, though. So I'm going to need you to work it out. Tell me where to go, who to connect with, where to apply, because I'm going to need you to cover school fee, rent, and groceries. Because the savings, I'm going to need that for, whatever. And because I was able to go to God with confidence because I knew I had done the pre-work, then he was like, okay, well, you're a little feisty, but cool. Didn't pay $1 out of my savings because I went to God with the boldness of, I've done the work, but I have a greater expectation of you. So you can go to God and be like, God, I'm going to graduate school, but, I'm going to Hawaii next week, and ball out all this money and be like, okay, Jesus, school fees due. I don't know if Jesus be working like that, but sometimes your faith, you meet you where your faith is. What's the difference? So a scholarship is an academic financial assistance based primarily on merit. So when you see the word scholarship, they're really talking about your academic merit. Some donors will attach, though, your leadership, your volunteer work, and say, what else is going on with you? But the primary purpose when you see a scholarship, someone's looking at your academic merit. They want to know you're stellar in that area. When you see an award, they want to know you're good in school academically, GPA-wise, but they're more interested in other things. They're looking to see, does this person help out with persons of disability? So you will tend to see that they attach a criterion on top of a GPA. They want to see this scholarship by John Doe for students studying education and disabilities, because that's a focused award. The difference between an award and scholarship is a scholarship can be renewable automatically or by application. An award has to be applied for every time you want it. So you got to weigh it out there and think about, I'm looking for something, and then you read it. It will tell you if it's renewable. If it's not renewable, it's okay. You still apply. If it's $50,000 for one time, Jesus, yes. I'll take the one-time offer. You don't need it to get it every hour, right? So think about those things. Then you want to think about a bursary. I love bursaries. Bursary applications take about 20 seconds to do. They're usually found through your school. If you go on their school website, so everybody sent a form in, and I went to everybody's school website. And then for a second, the thought dropped in my head, you should go back to school. And I said, Satan, get away. I'm not going back to school. I've done enough. But most of your schools, I went in and I just tried to apply for them. And it took me about 2 hours to get through everybody's school's applications for bursaries. They all have them. They have international ones. They have graduate students bursaries. They have financial need bursaries. So at the U of A, I applied for this bursary. That was $5,000. What was the criteria? I had to prove I needed money. That was easy to do. My bank account was in blue or red, or whatever color it goes to. So all you had to do was fill out the form, in each box say, what is your financial need? For every bank account you had to say, what was the total amount? And then they was like, oh, okay, you broke. Here's $5,000. That was it. It took me 20 seconds to do the application, and the money went straight to my account. Nobody asked me what I did with it, why I want it, nothing. Didn't have to fill out an essay. No, they're super easy to get, and they're really just you proving your financial need. So if you need money, Google bursary. A grant, yes. Oh, whenever you have them. Sorry, Gift's just so the persons online can hear.
So I'm wondering if you only apply, or if you would recommend only applying for scholarships through your school. Because I know that there are some that are outside the school, but I don't know the trustworthiness of some of like the where they're coming from all the time. So what would you recommend?
Apply for anything you can find that seems legitimate. So I always think about scholarships in a hierarchy. There's federal, provincial, then institutional, and I'll go through that. So when I think about federal, I want to know what Trudeau have for me. I'm like, what he giving away? And then I want to know, okay, Trudeau ain't got nothing happening right now. What can he got going on today? And then I look through there's a whole website called Alberta Student Aid. I just got a $12,000 scholarship from them. Took me 4.5 minutes to fill out the application. Didn't need a reference. I just needed to submit my, what's that thing they give you at the end of the semester? Transcript. To say I did well. And anyway, that's a whole other story. But yeah, so grants, did I answer your question? Yes. No? Okay. We'll go through it in detail later. Grants are free money. They're generally organized by an organization, the government, so the country or province. They are not repayable. They do not come with an interest. You apply, you submit a bank account, and they drop the money in your account, and you keep on moving. Okay? Somebody asked me a good question earlier before we started. Do you only apply for what you need? No. If your school fee for the whole year is going to cost you $10,000, you need to be applying for at least 30, because you got mortgage, rent, grocery, gas. And gas be crazy in the summer. So just, you need it all, right? If you have a job, great. Nobody asks you on the application, do you have a job? Don't discount yourself. Your job money for you. Somebody out there want to pay for your school. Get that money for that, and then keep your money for something else. A lot of people discount themselves and think, well, I have a job, and that's cheating the system. It's not cheating the system. The system didn't ask you if you have a job. The system asked you, do you need some money for school? Yes, you do. Yes, please?
If, so how do you prove financial need when you have a job?
So generally when they ask for financial need, they won't ask you for job statements and job letters. They will ask you to demonstrate your financial need in more than likely one or two ways. If it's a school, institutionally, they'll ask you to provide them a copy of the last 30 days of your bank account, right? If it's organizationally, like a business, they'll ask you to write a 500-word essay. Your 500-word essay on financial need, you don't have to mention that you have a job. You can just state where you are in life. I am a 25-year-old mother of three, just rejoining the scholarly, field. I've been working, but I struggle to make sure that my ends meet because I have A, B, C, D responsibilities. I want to ensure that whilst I'm in school, I'm able to meet the demands of schooling while still providing for my holistic lifestyle. They're asking you, why do you need this money? If you can't sell yourself to them, you don't deserve it. So they're just basically tell me why you need this money, not why you don't need the money. That's the art of reading a scholarship application. Give them what they're asking for, not what they're not asking for. Because if I put in there, well, I have a job, but you just told me why you don't need it. I'm asking you to tell me why you need this money. Okay? Yes, please.
Sorry. Okay. And then I know that for my school, McEwen, sometimes they ask for your tax assessment.
Your T4? Yeah, that's fine.
Whatever, the 150.
Or
line 150.
Whatever. TA or...
Your line 150 off of your
Child, I'm good at taxes.
Yeah, so basically your income from last year. So
Yeah.
just still apply.
That's
and just
fine.
Kind of explain.
Because your income from last year doesn't say what your responsibilities of last year was.
Okay, that's good.
So if you made last year $100,000, and if they're just asking for that and nothing else, then it leaves them room to read into it. But if they're asking for that in a 500-word essay, you can say, I made $500,000 last year. However, I started a non-for-profit. I did this, I did that, I did that. Then you can say, I made this money, but here's what I did with it, which still demonstrates a need. So don't be afraid because they're asking you for T whatever numbers behind, right? just know, how do I now frame the story that it gives them what they need and what they're asking for? Again, don't discount yourself. So where to look for scholarships? Google is your friend. I know a lot of people get really intimidated when they ask where to look for scholarships because they think school is the only place. This week, Googled things, and I was like, I should have Googled this earlier. But I didn't. But I Googled it for you. So it's a simple search. Scholarships in Alberta. Scholarships federally in Canada. International scholarships, because there are U.S. scholarships that give you U.S. dollars. So I got one from Clearly Glasses place. It was $750 US. Why? They asked me, how can you explain to us your vision for your academic journey? Child, I wrote them a whole nice essay about how I can't see, about where I see myself going, and I got the money. Why? Not because I thought about the 500 other people that will be applying, but I thought, you know what? I'm not going to discount myself. Let them tell me no. I'm not going to tell them no for me, right? Just apply. If you know that you can articulate the story, and even if you can't articulate it, write the basics, tap into your networks. Ask someone to read it over for you. If I wrote you this, would you be convinced to give me money? Some of your true friends would be like, boo bye. No, I will not be giving you no money. Some of them will tell you, oh, you know, maybe if you add this, tell them this happened in your life or that other thing. Then you set yourself up. Scholarship is all about advertising yourself. That's what they're looking for. Can you advertise yourself? So there's the Student Aid Alberta website. They have right now about 200 scholarships that are open. And then the Scholarships Canada is actually one where you can sign up, put in your information, and they'll send scholarships to your email. They'll send you an email, say, hey, this scholarship's opened up, closing this date. You might want to apply for it. Can't get easier than that, right? Federally, you want to look at canada.ca. When you put in your scholarship information there, it will take you to different grants and scholarships. So right now, the scholarship that's opened up that most people are applying to is called the Veneer Scholarship. That scholarship gives you $50,000 a year for 3 years. At the end of it, you get $150,000. Nobody asks questions about what you do with it. They don't care. Just apply. $50,000. Let that sink in your spirit. $50,000 a year for 3 years. I have friends who've gotten it and bought themselves a new car, a house, and apply for other scholarships to pay a school fee. So this is the Veneer Scholarship I was talking about. When you look at it, it tells you exactly what schools are applicable. Because certain scholarships, they will only have that applicable to a certain school. So I know it's kind of small there, sorry. But if you look on it, it will tell you the University of Alberta, University of Lethbridge, child, I can't see it, just tell you about clearly. University of Alberta, University of Lethbridge, Grant MacEwan University. Those are the Alberta ones that have that applicable. So now when I see that on my website, the first thing I'm going to do is call the scholarships department at school and ask them, what is the link and how do I go about applying for that? If you don't have a specific scholarship department, you have a department. So if you're in education, call your education department and say, who can I speak to tell me how do I get the form or the application to apply for the Veneer? And they will send you the link. If you're not on the listserv, that's another important thing. You need to be on the listserv for awards. I still get emails about U of A's awards because I made sure I was on every email list possible. So I call my department, I'm like, am I on the school list for awards? They're like, yes, I'm like, double check, make sure you spell it right. I didn't want to miss anything. So make sure you're on those listservs because if you're not aware of it, you easily miss out on those opportunities. Provincial, we have the Student Aid Alberta website, and then Student Awards. This is another one where you can actually sign up and get emails to you. So this one's specific to Alberta, whereas the previous one was the Scholarships Canada is all of Canada. So you want to make sure that you are opened up wide enough that you get everything, but you get specific things. Because you don't always want to be applying for everything that everybody in Canada is applying for. Narrow your pool. If you're applying for the things in Alberta, your pool becomes smaller, your opportunity to get the award becomes bigger, right? So that's provincial. So if you look at the screen, if you can see it, I'm sorry, it's kind of small. I thought it would be in the back. So let's see. The Alberta Excellence Award. The Alberta Excellence Award has 3 different categories. They have the academic one, They have an agriculture one. I don't know who's applied for that, but I guess people in agriculture. They have an athletic one. They have a high school equivalency. So people who are starting off, they don't really have anything else to apply for, but it's $500. That application, when I tried to fill it out, took me 3 minutes. Name, school, no essay required, no reference, hit submit. And it's $500. I mean, that's a good paycheck for 4 minutes. Is it worth your time? Are you looking for it? So this website is probably one of my favorite ones. There's a citizenship one. You can get a scholarship just for living in Alberta. You don't even have to be a citizen. Long as your address have Edmonton, Leduc, something, Alberta, AB at the end, you won the scholarship. And some of them have 4 and 5 components. So the $12,000 one I was talking about, I applied for it. It took me a few minutes to get it done, and I thought, well, I guess I'll just apply. There were 3 $12,000 scholarships. And of course, I don't discount myself. I'm like, child, one of these is mine. I submitted it. Then everybody was like, oh, I won the award. I'm like, oh, mine's coming. I didn't get an email. Weeks had passed, and I'm like, they just didn't get to mine yet, right? I was just so confident in it. And I was like, okay, fine. God, if that wasn't for me, that's okay. I'm okay with that because I knew you have something else for me. One thing to do is when you submit an application, submit it and forget it. It's not your job after you've submitted to be worrying about it because then you want to take control over it. Give it to God. Let him do what he needs to do in the background. So everyone had gotten this one, and then I got this email from the Alberta government. Hi, Kinshera. We want to say sorry for getting too late. We just somehow found an extra $12,000 in this particular account that you had applied for because you were the next person in line. We've been awarded the scholarship. They only had 3 spots, but somehow in their bank account for this award, there was an extra $12,000 sitting there. I'm like, look at my God. Child, y'all, I be dancing when I get scholarships. I'm like, look at my God, because I didn't discount myself. He created it for me. So don't think because everyone got an announcement that yours isn't coming. He will meet you where your faith is at. But make sure your expectations are real, right? You've done the work. He'll do the rest. The cattle, 1,000 hills is yours. That's a lot of cattle. So don't discount yourself. Sorry, Provincial. Yeah, so go to this website. Remember, it's the Alberta, studentloan.alberta. This one, the applications are super easy. Generally don't ask for references. And I'll talk about references in a minute. The Alberta Innovates Graduate Student Scholarship. This is a great one. Somebody had asked me about this. Maybe not. Anyway, this one's particularly for persons who are studying information and communication technology. So they'll tell you for the master's, they'll give you $26,000 a year. For a PhD or a doctorate, they'll give you $31,000 a year. I looked at the application. There's no references or anything that's applicable. So now when I read this, me, Kinshera, as a person, I'm not going to apply for this. Why won't I apply for it? I don't know nothing about information, communication, nanotechnology. That'll be a waste of my time. I can't give them any evidence that I fit the criterion, which is the basics of what they need for the scholarship. But I might know somebody who does. And when they fill out this application, one thing they might say to themselves is, ooh, there's only one award. But what if some other fools out there applying who ain't know nothing about communication, and you're the only one who applied who knows? So now you discounted yourself. Just apply, submit it, and forget it. What do you have to lose? Nothing, right? If you didn't have to pay to apply, you didn't lose anything. Maybe 10 minutes of your time. And even then, you didn't lose anything because now the more scholarships you apply for, the more you learn the skills of applying. So think everything as a learning lesson. So institutionally, the Grant McEwen website They actually have a website specific for scholarships, awards, and bursaries. I went to their website, and I thought, okay, what can I look for that makes sense? There were, I think, maybe about 6 persons who had signed up to say that they went to Grant McEwen. So this particular scholarship was $1,000. Some people will look at this and say, $1,000, I want $10,000. Did you work for that $1,000? No. So, but when I look at this, I think 6 awards are available. The probability of me getting that is so much higher than the one $10,000 one. When I read it, it wasn't difficult to apply for. But did I meet the criteria? So it says demonstrates financial need. You must be enrolled full-time and in the 2nd year of any program. It's important to read the criteria. If you're in your last year of your program, which is your 3rd or 2nd or whatever year, why are you going to sit down and apply for something through your school who could look up what year you're in? That ain't smart. You want to apply for things that are worth your time. Did you meet the basics? Remember, the criteria is what you need to have, not the preference. So this one I liked because it didn't ask you to be a Canadian citizen. A lot of times persons think, well, I don't have my PR yet or my citizenship, so I can't apply for that. It will tell you if they only want Canadian citizens or PR. If it says landed immigrant, what does that really mean? Then I would call the school and say, what's your definition of landed immigrant? Because I'm here on the land, but I'm an immigrant. But some people will say, no, I want you to have a PR, right? So finding out their definition of the terminology they use is important. U of A, they have a whole registry here, and they divide it in undergraduate, graduate, and international students. So if you're an international student, then look through your international ones first, and then go back to graduate. Because it says graduate, it didn't say graduate citizen. It just says graduate, right? So thinking about what are you saying when you say graduate? You didn't say, just because they had a separate section for international students, it doesn't mean that scholarships inside the graduate portfolio doesn't have international student criterions, okay? This one is from the University of Lethbridge. I pulled this one because when I went through the University of Lethbridge, somebody here goes there, or who applied, or signed up. All I saw was red. Deadline pass, deadline pass, deadline pass. That can be really discouraging for someone who goes to the University of Lethbridge, because you think, well, I just missed everything. No. What's the lesson here? Now I know when all of these are due next year. Pull the application, get them prepped, and next year, put them in your calendar. So when they do come up again, you've already done the front work. Now all you have to do is submit. A deadline pass doesn't mean that you're denied the application. Delayed is not denied. You might delay your application, but it doesn't deny you the opportunity for the scholarship. So even if a deadline has passed, pay attention to that scholarship if it's something you want, because now you know they don't change deadlines. Generally, the donor has the same year and they just cycle around, right? So next year I say, okay, I want this scholarship. I know it's due this. I need to have everything in by this date, and you're ready to go. Versus just showing up and being like, when was that due again? So I had a whole Excel sheet of scholarships and awards. I had it separated in provincial, federal, institutional, and then I had months of the year. If something was due January, all of them were there. February, March, April, May, throughout the year. And so at the beginning of every month, I will look up and see what's coming up 2 months from now. If I need a reference, I know I need to give my referee at least 6 weeks' notice. When I send the reference request, references are really, really important. I think people discount a reference. If I'm applying for an award, awards are not just about the application, they're about how well are you connected? What are people saying about you? Because as well as you have to advertise for yourself, Somebody else has to advertise for you. So when you're done with a class or program, you need to be able to say to that teacher at the end of the semester, "Dear Professor so-and-so, thank you so much for the learning opportunities this semester. You really enlightened my ability to think about A, B, C, and D. I want to say thank you in advance. Should I need a reference in the future, would you be so kind as to write me a reference? Again, thank you for your time and opportunity." Nothing enlightens a professor more than someone saying, "Thank you for sharing knowledge." When they replied, "Of course I'll write you a reference and you need it. Just let me know." Good, locked and loaded. You go into my Excel sheet. Because now I got your name and your email. And when I'm ready to get my reference, I hit reply. "Hey, this is Kinchiri. Remember when we said, and you said you would do it? I need a reference," right? So now this person can speak to what? Your academic merit, but they can also speak to you as a person. The fact that you took the time out to say thank you. Pastor always tells us the one who comes back to say thank you, that person has a different view about you, so they're willing to give you a stellar reference. If the scholarship is asking you, is focused, if the scholarship is focused on academic merit, you may not want to ask Tamiko to write you a reference, because he can speak to your leadership at church, your volunteerism, or you may not be able to tell anybody you did a great job on your statistics test. Align your referee with the scholarship. Because if that person is not speaking to what that scholarship is asking for and or has no credibility to speak to that, the adjudicator is going to say, why is Pastor Tamiko writing this? No, I don't want to hear from him. I want to hear from somebody who's graded you, who's worked with you, who knows you in an academic realm. Great if Tamiko meets both of those categories. Your reference can't just be someone you like and who likes you. They have to be credible and be able to have merit to speak to the essence of that scholarship. Now, if that scholarship is about community and teamwork and leadership and community building, Tamiko might be your person because he can speak to that part of who you are. So King's University, when I went through their website, theirs is very interesting because of how they separate it, how you can search it. You can actually search for scholarships that are specific to your program or area of interest. So somebody had, I don't know who, said, "I go to King's, I'm studying music." So that's what I plopped in. King's University, went to their website. I went to the music section on their scholarship and awards. And there's one that's for $3,000. You need a 1.7 GPA. The application is required, yes. The criteria is none. None. They don't have no needs. That means, child, you qualify already. Just fill out the application. They only need to know you in music. Child, I was about to apply, but I'm like, I don't know nothing about music. So, I don't know. They had none. Then there's another one here for $1,000. No criteria, but the GPA is a 3.3. Right? So these are the little things you might miss. 1.7, that's worth $3,000. And a 3.3 is only worth $1,000. Both of those applications look the same. Here's what Kinshura would do. Kinshura would apply for both. $4,000, Jesus. Yes, I can add. Don't be like, I'm going to just apply for this one because, no. If you meet the bare minimum, apply. Because somebody out there is discounting themselves. It ain't going to be you, because we go to Cornerstone, we don't discount ourselves, right? Amen. So this is how the application form looked. You needed to create an account. Again, I tried to apply, so, but they wouldn't let me because I didn't have a student ID number. So just create an account, fill your information. And what happens is the next time you go to apply, your information is already there. So now all you're doing is hitting submit. And that's how most schools do. You put in the front work first, and then after that, you just like, this one looks good, submit. This one looks good, submit. Right? But read it. Make sure they're not asking you to like change certain things, or this one's looking for financial, and this one's looking for academic, or this one's asking for essay. So just read it. Okay, who should apply? So we talked about this a lot. Thinking about your citizenship eligibility, your academic merit, your year of study is always important. Certain scholarships are meant to push you forward depending on where you're at. For both of my degrees at the U of A, I was a first-year student, and first-year students I find generally don't look for awards and scholarships because they're so overwhelmed. They're just like, I can't. I was like, I got no money. Let me just see what y'all have. And for both of my schools, or my last 2 degrees, I got a $5,000 remittance fee. That they just was like, here's $5,000 we're going to give you back for your school fee for the next year because you're a first-year student. I didn't even have to apply. I sent them an email. I said, do you have anything for first-year students? Because thanks. I don't have anything to cover the school fee. They're like, well, how did you get it? Don't worry about that. Jesus is faithful. So you have to put yourself out there. If people know that you're looking, they will look for things for you and say, hey, this came up, or you can get this, right? So I pulled this from an email I got this week about scholarships and awards, and this is specific to the U of A. The reason I put this here is to show you the difference between program study, year of eligibility, and preference criterion. I'm going to sit for a sec as I talk. The program studies, so they're asking for anyone who's enrolled in a graduate degree, but they're asking for a specific department. They're looking for someone in the Department of Educational Policy Studies. If you're in arts, don't waste your time. You're going to get it. So think about that. The second thing they're saying is eligibility of year. I want someone who's in a master's program who's eligible during the first 2 years of their program. So generally what I find when I help people with scholarships, they stop reading at the first 3 words. They're like, oh, master's, that's me. No, go to the end of the sentence. They want you to be in the first 2 years of that master's. Here's what confuses me about this. Most masters are only 2 years. What you talking about, right? But, so you want to read through and think about, okay, are they looking for someone who is in the first 2 years because they've extended their program? So you need to ask yourself these questions, but not to discount yourself, to make sure you're not wasting your time. And then they said the preference is given to an international student. People will read that and say, well, I guess I better don't apply because I'm a citizen. Child, it's a preference. If nobody else applied, or if everybody who applied are citizens, I know international students applied, you're in the race. Because one, no international student applied, so now they're back to their baseline. Here's another thing. The international students who all applied and the one citizen who applied, which might be you, they don't even meet the criteria. So now there may be international students who meet the preference, but they don't meet the criteria. They don't have the GPA, they're not in the right program. So all of that makes a difference. Just because they applied doesn't mean that they've outranked you. Okay? I won this award like 4 times. I like this one. Okay, so when to apply? Pay attention to deadlines, even if it's past, because then you want to put them in your calendar to make sure that you can do them again. Be prepared, start them in advance. Again, be wise in who you ask for your references. You want the person to speak well of you, but honestly, because there's nothing more I can read through when I do adjudications is that a lie in a reference. Because you can hear them scrambling to put some words together to talk about how good you are. Whereas someone who genuinely thinks you're great, the words they flow off the paper easily, right? So don't ask your enemy to write you a reference. might not work out for you. Okay, so I don't know what time it is. Okay, 8:25. How to write and apply for these things. This is the crux of what I really wanted to do today. Because while we've gained the wisdom and knowledge, we need the practicality, right? Because all of that really just makes it hard for us. So, you want to know how to read applications, and I'm going to go through that with us. Somebody said a specific application they want to go through, and I just happened to pick yours, so lucky you. And then your CV versus a resume. Does anybody know the difference between a CV versus a resume when they're talking about scholarships? Nope. Okay. So when we talk about a CV, AVIT, all y'all letters. I'm going to stop sharing here for a minute and share something else. Okay. So, when you look at a resume talks about your work experience. That is the primary purpose of a resume. While it has some curricular activities in there and other stuff, a resume is not focused on your academic journey. A resume is focused on your work journey, your work experience. When you look, this obviously isn't up to date as of right now, but when you look at a CV, which is a curriculum vitae, it looks at your academic journey. So when somebody says to you, submit a CV, and I do an adjudication and I see someone submit their resume, child, you to the bottom of the list, because you didn't even take the time to Google the difference. So when you look at a CV, you want to set your CV up to the application you're applying for. For example, if the application or scholarship you're applying for is asking primarily about your academic merit, that is what you want to highlight in your CV. So I'll go through my CV here for a minute. So when I did my CV for this particular application, I needed them to know the degrees I had and where I'm pursuing. So I start off with my academic journey because they're asking me about my academic merit. Then I want to tell them the courses that I've taken in this particular degree that I'm applying, that this application is under. It's a doctoral program I'm in, but this scholarship is based only for people in a doctoral program. So I need them to know, here's the work I've been putting in to get to the point of completion. People need to know that they're investing in the right thing. Then I start off with a list of awards. When you write out your awards and scholarships, you want them to know who gave you it, so the name of the scholarship, what department did it come from, was it attached to a university or a government, and what amount did you get? The amount is important and not important. Scholarships begot scholarships. The more scholarships you have, the investor, who is the donor, says, wow, 20 people have invested in this person. All 20 of those scholarships might be for $2.50. But that person said 20 people took a chance on her versus the one person who has one scholarship for $50,000. They'll read that and say, oh, only one person took a chance. That don't look like a good investment, right? So remember, donors see you as an investment. So you have to set yourself up for that. So you want to go through your list of scholarships. Sorry, there's quite a bit here. And then you just go through and you say, at the end of all of that, we've awarded you all of the scholarships. What have you been doing academically? Remember, the focus of this scenario is an academic scholarship. So now I want to highlight publications, articles that I've published, papers that I've worked on. I want to say presentations that I've done, poster presentations. And you want to set your CV up in a way that it is so clear for the adjudicator to read that they're not looking for the information. When I sit down and look at a CV, I don't want to have to be trying to figure out, was this an article? Was this a webinar? What did you do? You need to make sure your headings are so clear that that person can read and say, oh, webinar, she did 3. Rather than having to read all of the sentences. You don't have time for that when you're adjudicating. You really just want to read quickly and see, what did this person do? How much do they have? Are they worth this investment? So the last thing I would put on here is professional employment. This person doesn't care about where I've worked, but I want to make sure I highlight certain things. Research work that I've done. Why do I want to highlight research work? Research is directly correlated to academia. So my research will always come before teaching experiences. This person is less interested in my teaching because teaching doesn't have to be correlated with smarts. Y'all had some teachers who y'all really thought how they got into teaching, right? So you just have to think about it. And then the volunteer work can come last. You want your CV to be complete, but how you structure that CV makes a big difference to the adjudicator. Because once the adjudicator has seen everything they want to see at the top, they really won't even look at the bottom. Versus a scholarship that's focusing on volunteer and scholarly and other activities. This section will now get plopped all the way to the top, even before my awards. Why? Because that's what this scholarship is highlighting. You highlight your scholarship, there's a lot of echo. Highlight your scholarship to, your CV to the scholarship. Make it easy on the adjudicator that they don't have to look for the information they're looking for. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? What CVs? Yes, peace. You have the mic. Gift? Oh, he's coming.
Okay, I'm wondering if you have first I'm wondering if we'll have a copy of the deck at the PowerPoint.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I don't know if you would be open to sharing your CV as a guide.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are 2 questions, and I think I had one more. Nope. You answered it.
I answered it? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
Yay me. Okay. So now that we've gone through CV versus, what do you call? CV versus the application or CV versus a resume. Hey, Gift.
Sorry, I just wanted to check. Is there anybody in the back that has any questions? Just in case, just checking. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Continue.
Sorry. Okay, perfect. So I'd ask persons to bring their CVs to me. If you have them, let me know. I will take them home and work through them for you and bring them back. If you don't have them right now, you have a general idea of what that should look like and structure it, and then let me know and we can connect virtually or in person yeah. It's okay. Gift is like, I needed this workout.
Okay, thanks for answering all my questions. So for someone like me that's in school for music, under the works or with how you have your webinars and everything, what I put can you put assignments, like musical pieces, or what would you say?
So it's how you frame it, right?
Okay.
So I would put that as musical projects.
Okay.
Or artistic projects.
That's good.
It's selling yourself. Nobody want to know that's an assignment. No, but what they do want to know is you've been working on projects related to the field or albums published, right? How you frame it is selling yourself. I would never put my research work as co-collaborative reading. No, I want you to know that I have publications, whether they're co-published or individually published, it's all in the language. So this one is the Zonta International Women's Scholarship. So as y'all can see, I was applying for it, but I didn't qualify. But I went and I signed up for it just so I can walk you through it. So when I looked at this, I went to general information. This page is really important. Sorry, the introduction. This page is really important because if you look further down, it asks you for an essay. This page is basically telling you what to put in your essay. You pull from it the key points of what they're looking for, and then you write your story around that. So when I look at this, they're looking for, I'll tell you where it starts. It starts off by saying the world economy continues to leverage and build upon the digital revolution and industry becoming whatever. Women, however, are still largely underrepresented. That, for me, popped out. So now when I write this, I'm going to write, as the only woman in a class of 450 students in a profession of IT, I too recognize how women are underrepresented in. My first sentence tells them what they want. I'm in a big class, it's only me, I'm a woman, help a sister out. Right? So they're telling you, scholarships always tell you how to write your essay. You just have to be able to read through it and figure out where are the highlights here? What is their core problem? How are you the solution to their problem? So when you look at the general information, look for the problem. Look for the thing they're complaining about. And then you sell yourself as a solution to their complaint. So if the scholarship is about Black men who don't have access to post-secondary, then you write your opening line as a Black man from a family of 4 siblings, I understand the significance of breaking the cycle and ensuring that men who come after me have the ability to access education. Because what did they read there? 1, you're Black. 2, the odds are against you. 3, you're breaking generational cycles. You're not in this just for you. Your opening sentence of any essay is your clincher. It will make you or break you. Yes.
I don't know, maybe people have these questions and I'm just receiving them. How do you said earlier, and I just wanted to loop back to it, that just from one of my questions about, or I guess I had said that like not all donors kind of look like they're like trustworthy, and you said that we should apply for everything that looks legitimate. How do you tell what's legitimate and what's not for scholarships that are not directly through your school?
Anything that asks you to pay for it, you're illegitimate. I'm trying to get money. How am I paying for it? Right? The next part is, if the website doesn't come from something that somebody has ever heard about, talked about, no, I'm not giving you my information. So I generally go to government websites, things that I can track my information, things that I can hold somebody accountable for. You don't want to apply for something that when you open the screen, every ad from Zimbabwe to Timbuktu pop up on the screen. No, what you advertising? I just want money. I don't, all of this. No. So filter through and think about, what are they trying to get from you versus you trying to get from them? If they're asking you for more than what you're trying to get from them, it's probably not legitimate. Yeah.
Okay. Also, is there like a form or structure for how you're writing these essays for scholars, for donors?
Unfortunately, no, but you can create one. I generally answer questions by asking questions. When I write an essay, the first thing I do is I ask myself, what is the problem? What is the focus? How am I the solution? If you can answer those 3 questions, you've written about 500 words. Right? What is the problem? What is their focus? How am I the solution? Because that's what the adjudicator wants to know. You focus on the problem, but you gave them a solution, which is you. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically how I look at it. And answering questions always helps me to write versus sitting there looking at a blank screen and I don't have no starting point. Remember, your first line is your selling line. So always think really hard about, what am I going to say in these first words to grab this reader attention that they have no choice but to get to the end of it? Yes.
So my question is going back to like when you're providing information, basically telling them you need financial aid. Like let's say you're providing a bank statement for the next 30 days, but you had like hella deposits. Like you had all these, everything is like green. How do you like?
Yeah, that's a tricky one in that that's probably not, your timing is off in applying. Timing is everything. If you just had every deposit from everybody who owe you money, probably not the best time to apply for that bursary and salmon financial need, right? Or you want to think about how many bank accounts do I have, right? Which one of them demonstrate financial need for you? Right? Don't mean that, and it's really just thinking about, some people think because you have money doesn't mean that you don't need money. The wealthy never says I have enough money. Never. It's a mentality, right? We think, oh, I got $350, child. We good this month. You in need. You need to be applying for some stuff. Okay? Yeah. Any other questions? I saw somebody's hand up at the back.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a similar question about having different bank accounts. So you can actually give them a statement of your like not so active bank account.
Yeah, I mean, when I say different bank accounts, I always thread the line of, what is this money for? I have, it drives my husband crazy, probably about 30 accounts. Why do I have 30 different accounts? Because different accounts are for different things. I have an account that's just for savings. I have an account that's just for school. I have an account that's just for grocery. Why do I do that? That's my way of disciplining myself. And I don't have access to it, even if I wanted to. When I walk in Costco and be like, geez, those cookies are on sale, right? So when I say that, it's not an act of dishonesty. It's when you look at your account that you have specific for this thing, for schooling, does it demonstrate that you have a need? Because if your money has been allocated and set aside for you to be able to pay for your medical bills, you're in need. You can't pay your school fee with your Tylenol money. Like, you gotta really think it through that when they're asking me to demonstrate my financial need, they're not asking me to demonstrate the need for my life. They're asking me to demonstrate the financial need for school. And when I have that account and I look at that account, I was always in need. Because I couldn't spend my grocery money to pay the U of A. Their bills are paid and their plate looked good. So no, I needed the money. Okay? So that's when I say it's not about being facetious or lying. It's about you recognizing where your needs are. But you can't do that if everything is in one place, and you can't differentiate what you need from what you don't need, because everything much together. So you have to make those lines clear for yourself. And I've done that. Like, I've had a U.S. account, but that money was for when I go home, because Canadian dollar don't convert well. So that I couldn't give them that account because that's a different need. My student account was specifically for student. That was the account I gave them because that's my student need, right? So, yeah. So I pulled this application. Sorry, any other questions? Nope, okay. So this Zonta one, when you look at it, it really very basic. What department are you in? What year are you studying? It's asking me for the background information, what school. It's like 2-word lines to fill in. When I filled this out at home, I kind of deleted everything just to show you guys. It took me about 15 minutes to get to, I don't even know, 15, maybe 10 minutes to get to the essay page. Again, this one is interesting because they ask for your employment history. Very few scholarships ask for that. So here's how you read this scholarship. The minute they ask me for employment history, what question are they asking you without asking you it? No. They're not asking about how much you make. Ethics, work ethics. That's the underlying question here. Are you sitting at home not trying? They really want to know, have you been pushing? Have you been trying? How long have you been on a job? Why did they ask for end and start date? They're asking a question about your stickability. How long do you stick it out? Scholarship applications always have hidden questions that they're asking you. They're not asking you about the money you made, because nowhere in here did they tell you, can you put your salary for us? They don't care about how much money you made. They want to know, can you keep a job? Are you a hard worker? How long have you been working? Those are their questions. They're trying to figure out who you are as a person, not how much money you make. So again, there's an art to reading scholarships, applications, right? They're not just what you see. This essay was asking for 500 words or less. Please don't give the people 503 words. Give them 500 words or less. Be careful with the less. You don't want to give them 300 words. Now you look lazy. You can't get 200 extra words out your brain. No, they're not interested. They want to know how close can you get to that 500 words, but they also want to know that you're not just putting the bare minimum there. Granted, there are some people who are really good at being concise. I'm not that person. I suffer from verbal diarrhea. I need to put all the words in there, right? But that's what they're looking for here when they only give you 500 words. They want to know, can you sell yourself in 500 words? And what are you going to choose that's important? So this scholarship is asking about women who are in technology field, who struggle in being in the field by being the only woman, and there's no diversification. So if you have 500 words, and in your 500 words you talk about your dog, Sally, the gym, and they just took your money out and didn't give you it back, so you need the money. This person's like, what? You wasted 500 words. If I was filling out this application, I would start off by talking about my current statistics in IT. As the only Black, always use your diversification. As the only Black woman at the University of Alberta in a class of 30 students, I find myself in the fight of global change to be a change agent within information and technology. I recognize my role here in making sure that I'm paving a way for other Black women and all women to come behind me and recognize that there is a place for you in IT. The work that I do in IT is not provincial, it's global. I have an opportunity to invest and reinvest in other women who come behind me. So right now, I just spiel that off the top of my head, right? But what did I do in there? I talked about who I am, my positionality as a Black woman, the lack of diversity in the field, the fact that you invest in me, I'll invest in others, hey, right? When I finish, I'm gonna pave a way for the next Black woman or the next woman to come ahead. I'm thinking about all the women and children. So then I would go in here, around the world, then I pull statistics in. Statistics show that 1 out of every 30,000 girls think about IT as a career. What did I do there? I'm giving them the stats that I've done the work and research why we need to continue the work of this scholarship. That's a quick Google search. How many Black girls think about IT as a career? Google Scholar is your friend. You only need one article to tell you that, it's 1 out of 30,000. You have to sell yourself, but sell yourself as the solution to the problem. Any questions on how to sell yourself in an essay? Oh, yay! Of my community. Recommendations. So this is your reference page. Know that when you submit it here, they're going to send an email directly to your referee. which means when your referee responds, you don't get to see what your reference says unless that person shares it with you. Most places will tell you to fill out this information, and they'll either tell you, submit the request here, which means they'll send it to the person for you, or here's a reference sheet, have the person fill it out, and let them send it to this email. When you request a reference, core things that you need to say. 1, I need a reference. 2, here's the scholarship I'm applying for. You can't just say I need a reference to the Zonta scholarship and thanks. No. What is the Zonta scholarship? Copy and paste that general information into your email so they can have a very clear idea of what you're applying for. Then at the end, when you get to the end of your reference email, you want to give them a deadline. Give your referee a deadline. If this is due September 13th, I'm going to give my referee a deadline of September 4th. How am I going to frame that to my referee, though? Because you don't want to sound like you tripping. You want to say, dear referee, I'm applying for so-and-so. Here's the general information about it. If you'd be so kind as to see about getting the reference done by this date, I want to ensure that I can review my application, ensure that it's complete in its entirety for submission to ensure my eligibility for the award. That helps the referee know that you want to be diligent and get it all right. Then, 48 hours before I give them the deadline, I'll send them a gentle reminder. Dear referee, this is just a gentle reminder of the reference that I requested that I would like to have you submit before so-and-so date. I just want to say thank you in advance for your time and consideration. I appreciate you allowing me to have an opportunity to advance in my academic career. It's because your referee ain't got you to the top of their list. No, they got you on a sticky note to do, and other sticky notes went on top of that. So now you're sending them a 48-hour reminder, cues them, crap, I forgot to do that. Let me go and do that now, right? Always an initial email, always a follow-up. Give them a deadline. You want to give them a deadline that gives you space that if they forget, you can still get it in. Yeah. And then this one, verification of enrollment. You just go to your school website. There's usually a tab in your student access page for verify enrollment. Download it as a PDF, attach here. Declaration from the applicant. This scholarship would take me about 15 to 20 minutes to write up. It wasn't a lot of work. As you can, and I intentionally went through this one for whoever said that this is what they wanted to apply to show you that, 1, you need to consider the time, 2, it's worth it. They didn't ask you for a whole lot in here. 500 words. If you can't sell yourself in 500 words, we might have a problem. The problem, though, is you think that it's all on you. If you've written your 500 words and you're not confident in it, ask someone to read it over. Does this make sense? Ask yourself the questions. Did my essay align with the intent of this application? Did I figure out what their problem is? What is the focus of the scholarship? And how did I sell myself as the solution? And if you've not done those things, you might want to rework it a little bit. And sometimes it's just wording. You always keep your language simple. You don't know who your adjudicators are. They can be students in your department. Their vocabulary might be just as basic as, I don't know, Tom, whoever Tom is. But you don't want to make yourself sound like I'm too great for this. You just need to be able to talk about yourself in simple terms that has that person understand the heart of who you are. Heart essays always oversees academic ones. Because when you tap into people's emotions, you tap into their wallets. People need to know when I'm investing in a person and not a machine who can write a pretty essay. What is this person telling me about themselves and their life journey? Okay, so that's going through an application. We did CVs versus resumes, and I think that was the end. Any questions? Oh, I think there was a question in this thing. I don't know how to use this. Hold on. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Can't chop. Come piece. I don't think there's any.
Oh, it's at the bottom. Yeah, it would be here.
Yeah, okay. All right. I don't see any questions. No more questions there. Okay. All good? Okay. Any other questions from persons who are here? Did anyone bring a CV or resume that they want me to help them through? If not, I will, if you need me, if you're viewing from online, you can send me an email at Kenchera, Kenchera, at UAlberta. So that's like university, so ualberta.ca. I will have the PowerPoint given to AVIT, all them letters, and they'll share them with you. And if you want a copy of the CV, just send me an email and I can share with you a copy of the CV and also help you work through your own. I'm happy to do that. Yes. Gift. You have the mic or piece? I don't know who has it. Okay.
So my question is, where do you start, like for references, where do you start if you feel like you don't really have any like academic references? Like I know, for example, like oftentimes it's easy to find like ones where it's like volunteer and like leadership and all that other stuff. But when it's like academic, especially like I go to like U of A, for example, it's a really quite big institution, especially when you're in like STEM and stuff like that. So connecting with some of the professors can be a little bit difficult. So like how do you do that?
Yeah, so the question was, where do you start by looking for academic references if you don't have that networking already? I would say start with the class you got the best grade in. Also the class you were most active in. If the professor doesn't remember you, your chances of getting a good reference is not going to be good. Generally, professors remember the students that were active in class. They don't even remember their grades. They remember your engagement. So if you were a very engaged student in that class, that would be my starting point. If you don't have someone who can generally speak to your academic reference, one thing I was going to say too is when you ask for a reference, share your CV with that person. Because even if they can't personally vouch for it, they can look through your CV and see your track record and then say, like when I write a reference, if someone sends me a CV, I'm not quite sure what they've been doing. They weren't the greatest student. I will write in that reference. In my class, I saw the student as a hard worker, very engaged, willing to learn, wanting to succeed. I've seen over the last several years that this person has excelled from the point of which I've taught them to this point now. I can see the growth in them academically. I can see the growth in them professionally. Because they gave me a CV, I had something to look at and see their journey, and I was able to speak to their journey, not from a personal lens, but can see where they've come from being my student. And so often students would do that to me. They would send me their CVs and ask me for a reference. And I generally don't talk about the grade they got in my class. But if I didn't remember them, I would deny them that reference. I would say, I'm sorry, I can't write this reference for you. At this time, I'm unable to speak in honesty to your academic journey. Not because I don't have their CV, because I don't remember who they were in my class. So I can't even vouch for that. Right? Yeah. That's where I would start. Yeah. And if you don't have someone even who meets that, like I've had people come to me who I've not taught, but I know who they are as a person. I know who they are in a leadership role, in a community role. But if they send me their CV, I can speak to who they are as a person and say, I've seen through their progress in their academic journey, how they've gone from a bachelor's to a master's without giving up. So I can tie the academic in because I have the confidence to speak to who they are as a person and tie it together, right? So that person has to have the merit, though. So you don't want that person to be again, your basketball coach. And when I write a resume for someone, because I can put on my signature, Dr. Kinshira so-and-so, whatever, it gives merit to the fact that I can speak to the academic journey by looking at the CV, right? So I'm not big on titles, but that's my title. And if I have to use it to advance somebody else in their academic journey, I do, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's in the chat, but it's Kinshira, Kenchera, at ualberta.ca. Yeah. Okay, if we don't have any other questions, I think I did good with time. Oh, yes, I did. No, sorry, 9:01. We bless God. We'll close out in prayer if we don't have any other questions. Okay. Father, I just want to say thanks. Thank you because you took control of this. You didn't allow fear to come in the way or anxiety. You allowed your spirit to rise so high in me, God, that not for a second was it about me, but you allowed me to speak to the journey that you enabled me to have. Father, I pray today that every voice that's connected and will ever connect to this message and this presentation, God, to read and understand how to understand the difference between the spiritual realm of applications, but also the physical. Father, we thank you that as the scholarships come through, the testimonies will come through in abundance, and they will begot more testimonies. Father, I thank you that as persons get the thousands and thousands of dollars that you've already released in the atmosphere for them, God, that they would not sit on their blessing, that they would tell others about how they got it and where to go and how to look, but God, that they will always come back to say thank you. May we never be selfish, God, with the blessings of what you've given us, whether it be 50 cents or $10,000, God, we know that it's all from you. While these might be our resource, God, you're the source of all that we have. And so I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for giving us peace. I pray for everyone leaving in this place. May no harm and danger come nigh them or their family. God, we thank you that when we return here, we will come back with a word to say, God is faithful. And we know that you're too faithful to fail us. And so in advance, we say thank you for the thousands. Thank you that our debts are cleared, God. We will not end school with any debt because that's not your purpose for us, God. You said that we can live free, and that's in all aspects of our lives, God. We thank you, God. We honor you. We praise you. We thank you for this movement and this ministry and the leadership, God. May you bless our pastors. Father, may you bless them, that they would be the vessels that you use for us to understand your love and understand the ability that we have to tap into everything that's available to us. May you keep them and guide them. Give them strength, God. Give them strength for this journey that's not easy for them. Give them wisdom to understand, God, that you're a keeper. Father, thank you for the word this month that you're a defender. Father, continue to be our defense in the time of need. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. God bless you. Have a great evening.